Hello friends, welcome back to our YouTube channel Oracle DBA Online Training. So in this tutorial, we will be looking at how to perform the database patching on single instance database, which is having a primary database and it has a standby database also. Okay, so in this tutorial, we'll be covering detailed steps like how you can perform the patching on the primary database side and then you can do the patching on the standby side. So overall process we'll try to understand and now, this will be a step-by-step guide like previously or previous tutorials. And before we can proceed, I'll request all the new friends to please subscribe our YouTube channel. And if you are interested about our training, you can contact me through the contact number given over here, and you can send me WhatsApp messages on the same, and you can ask your queries. Also, you can connect me through the email ID given over here. Regarding our previous tutorials, you can refer a lot of previous tutorials and you can start learning those different topics. Okay. And there is one more important announcement I'm going to announce in maybe within a week of time. So please wait for that announcement to come. And meanwhile, if you are interested about our pre-recorded training sessions, you can contact me on the given WhatsApp number, and you can purchase this particular course only by paying 5,000 rupees. It's one of the best-selling training materials you'll be getting. So it has already I mentioned we'll be getting various topics, which is including some of the advanced level topics like Golden Gate, performance tuning, patching, database upgrades. So overall, a very effective training materials that you can get. Along with these training materials, you will also be getting all the commands and the softwares that you will be using for the training purpose. So if you are interested about this course, please do contact me. You can enroll this course within a 2 minutes of time. Okay. So that's it for from the information point of view. So let's start today's tutorial about how to perform the patching on the single instance database from which is already running on 19.11, and we'll be doing patching to 1914. Okay, so this is going to be a step guide, so please do watch the complete tutorial. Hello, in this tutorial we'll be looking at how to apply the any patch on a single instance standby database along with its production primary database. So in my environment, basically I have a 19.11 primary database and 19.11 standby database, and I'll be applying the latest patch, that is 19.14. So these are some of the steps, but before we go further, first let's start the database which we have. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll connect to the server. So we have two servers. If you look at currently, this is our primary prod database server, and this one is a standby data. Both the virtual machines are up and running. And if you look at the current screen here, we can see the primary, and I open the alert log of the database. This is the standby server 20200, and this one is the standby alert log. Okay, so first thing what we have to do here, first start up the database, because that is so I'll make the system look like a production one so that you will get proper idea about it. So this is the database I'm starting right now. Similarly, I have to do the same thing for the standby also. We'll start the standby database also. We'll try to start the recovery also. Sorry, this is not the correct one. I need to export the SID also. Okay, so first thing we have to export the standby SID. Okay. After this, we have to start the database using the startup command. So we are starting the database instance here. Along with this, we also have to start the listener services, because previously ls nrc start. Okay. So this will make sure this listener is started. Same thing we have to follow on the standby also. So after this, what I'll do, I'll connect and see current status of the database. So this is our standby database. Here you can see this is the name of the database, and this is the instance name, that is a test stby. And next one is a physical standby database we have, and So how you will come to know whether this is 19.11 or 19.12? So whenever you log in into the database, you see there's 19.11, right? So that means it is indicating the 19 point, even though you can look for version using the SQL plus minus V command. After doing this, you have to connect to the database again in the primary. So this is our primary database. And there is a script I already put. I think it is not there. Let me check that also. So so we need to, you can see the RFS process is already started here. So we need to start the MRP also, alter database recover managed. So basically, I'm trying to make the system consistent as our production one. Like a real production environment, and after that, we will perform the patching, like a single instance database along with a standby database. How we have to perform the patching, that we will be looking at. Okay, so the database require manage standby database current disconnect from session. So basically, the recovery can be done in various steps. I mean, you can have different command also. It depends upon how you are performing the recovery. I'm using this command to perform the real-time recovery also. Okay. So as soon as we run this command, we can see in the alert log that media recovery is also started here. Okay. And apart from this, also let's verify version here. It is also correct. So after this, we have the database running. So what I'll do, I'll just show you what is the current applied sequence. So using the V dollar archived underscore log. So this view we can verify. So select, you can select like a sequence has max of sequence has from V dollar archived underscore status where applied equal to yes, we have to put like that. So V dollar archived underscore not status. So where status applied equal to yes. So this is the current sequence that we have on the standby database. Similarly, you can verify the sequence on the primary database where archived equal to yes. This is what you have to put. Archived equal to single quote yes. So basically, the idea here is we have to verify the sequence that is. So what I'll do, I'll just copy these commands here also. Like before you can go for the patching activity, you should make sure there is a proper sequence, or you can say archives are already in sync. So in the primary database, we will be running this command. Okay. And on the standby database, we need to check this one. So if you want to know how to configure the standby database for single instance database or rack database, you can check our previous videos also. Okay, so basically we have started the recovery also. It is working smoothly. And so next step will come like how to perform the patching activity. Okay, so this is our standby database and this one is our primary database. Okay. So, so there are two ways you can do the patching. Either you apply the patches on first on the production database and then on the standby database, or there is other vice versa way. Like you can apply the patch on the standby database first, and then do the patching on the primary database. Okay, so we already know that there is a patch of 19.11 is already there. Similarly, if you're working on Quilcy database, there will be some existing patches. So on top of that, you need to apply the latest patches. So basically, you have to verify the existing patch detail, and based upon that, you need to download the latest patch and there is a patch utility. So in order to apply any patch, you require two things. One is a current or latest patch. Other one is a patch utility. So we already downloaded this patch which is related to 1914. If you want to know how to download the patches, you can check our previous videos also. I've shown very systematically like how you can download any patches. Okay. So next comes looking at the readme file. So this is our readme file. Basically, this particular patch is a single patch which has both like grid infrastructure related patches along with the database patches. Okay, this is also called release update, or you can say bundle patch, because it has multiple patches within a single patch. Okay, so this is a release update for the January 22. Okay, so in order to apply any of these patches, we will require the latest patch utility. So if you can go through this readme file, you'll come to know that there are few patches which is applicable for both, like grid home and database home. Only for grid home, only for grid home. That means in this entire 5 patches, which is a part of the single patch, so we have to just apply these 2 patches for the database. Okay, and so we are going to apply only these 2 patches for the database. Okay, so coming to the next point, that is how you can download the latest OPatch utility. So there is a documentation where it mentions like you need to go through the OPatch utility information. So it says like you have to have this particular OPatch utility version. So what we will do, we'll verify the current OPatch utility version. If it is lower than this, so we have to replace this latest OPatch utility. Okay, so there is a standard documentation which start with the 68880. So if you search on the Oracle support link, you'll come to know like which is the current, what is the current version of the OPatch utility. Though it is started with 12.0 this, but still this is applicable for the 19th. It has nothing to do with the version of your database. So basically, its naming convention start with 12 only. So you have to download the latest OPatch utility also. Okay, so next part will come like you have to unzip the patches, then you have to perform the conflict check. So since we are applying the database patch, we will be only checking the 2 patches related to our database. So these are the 2 patches that we are going to target. Okay, and apart from this, we also need to verify that there is sufficient space available in the database server or not. Okay, so this is also that we need to verify before we go for the patch apply. Okay, so these are the things that we need to go through before we can go for the patch apply. So once we will verify that there is no conflict from the existing patches, then you can start applying those patches by bringing down the database and database related services. Okay, so what we have decided here, we will first apply the patch on the production database, that is our primary database, and later we will be applying the patch on the standby database. So during this entire activity, you can say your standby database will be synced up to that point when we started the applying the patch. Okay, so any which way your standby database will not be doing anything. It will be just sitting idle. There will be some errors in the alert log. So if you want, you can basically stop the standby database also during this patching activity on the primary database. But in the reverse case, that is, if you are doing the patching on the standby database, so primary database you don't have to bring down. Okay, that's the idea. So first, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy the patch which I already downloaded into my system. Okay, so this is OPatch utility, and this is a patch, and this is the README file. Okay, so what I do, I already shared with my VirtualBox machine these systems. So I have to just search for the patches. So what I'll do, I'll copy this patch both on my production primary database as well as on my standby database. Okay, so this patch is getting copied. Along with that, I also need to copy the OPatch utility into the what you call database home. So before we copy this OPatch utility, what we'll do, we'll first verify the current version. Okay, so one more thing we need to take care here, because we are copying from the root user, we need to make sure the ownership of this file is correctly defined. So what I'll do, change it to Oracle and install. So this is done. After this, we will have to just unzip this file And meanwhile, I'll connect to the Oracle user and we'll go to the path of OPatch. Okay, so we'll come to OPatch path. Here we need to run OPatch version. So it will list out what is the current version. So we have like ending with 1.23. But as per the documentation, it was saying that we should have the 1.28 version. Okay. So 1.28 version. So we need to basically replace the existing OPatch utility. So in order to do that, we need to have the latest OPatch utility download. So we already downloaded it. We just have to copy and replace. So here we have to like either you can take the existing OPatch utility backup as a backup underscore BKP, or after doing this, you have to basically from the backup piece that you have. So let me just go there and copy CP688 to this particular path. Okay. After this, we have to make sure the ownership of the files is correctly defined. So we'll ch on Oracle and install with the file name p68. Okay, so this is also done. Now what I'll do, I'll just go to the path of dollar underscore Oracle underscore home. So here we need to replace unzip this particular file which we just now taken. Okay, so as soon as it will get unzipped, then we'll proceed for the next step. So the OPatch utility is unzipped. Let's verify the current version. So by running the OPatch version, you can basically verify the current version. So you can see it is ending with 1.28, which is our required version. Okay, so same thing we have to do for the standby setup also. So what I'll do, I'll just from here itself, we'll try to transfer the file which is we already copied. Okay, so what I'll do is cp -r, this is the file name, and then stby colon, and this is the path where we need to sc. So basically it is not able to understand the, okay, so it is not in the etc host. So what I'll do, I'll just 168.0.200. Okay, and let's try. So it is working. Okay, so we'll go to Oracle home here, and here also we first go to cd dollar underscore Oracle underscore home. So if you want to verify how to verify, so you need to go to the capital OPatch path. If you already set the patch path, then you don't have to basically search for all these options. So currently the OPatch version is ending with 1.23. What I'll do, I'll just move the existing OPatch with the underscore BKP. Okay, and after doing this, here we will be having the file with the name of this one. So we need to just first unzip this file, and then we'll see the OPatch version. Okay, so I'll go to OPatch path again and do the OPatch version. So now we have the proper version of OPatch. Okay, so this part we have already covered in our previous so many tutorials. I mean, if you go through any one of the rack related or any other tutorial where patching related steps are there, so you'll find out very easily how to manage the OPatch utility. So that part is already taken care right now. So next part will be the patch. So we need to go to U01 and latest patch. So we need to unzip this patch also before we can apply this one. So this file are getting unzipped on the primary sites. Same file we need to also transfer on the standby side also. Yeah, so this file is basically unzipped. Let's copy the same file onto the standby setup also, because there also this file will be required. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this file. First we'll take the path cp, this one for scp. So So IP address which is ending with this 200 is our standby setup. So this particular patch is already unzipped. After this, we have to follow this plan of action that I already prepared here. So first we will be doing the patching on the primary database, and later we'll be doing the standby database. So the patch is copied on the standby database setup. So first let's unzip it on standby also. So we don't have to worry later also about this. Okay, so before we unzip, let's verify the space. Sufficient space we can see here clearly. So this is getting unzipped. Meanwhile, we can remove the zip file because it is no longer required from this side and from primary database. And I'll go to this part like so here we'll find out there are multiple patches you can see, but as per our readme file we only have to apply 2 patches. If you go back to the readme file again, so since if you look at this initial part where a patch number install as for the part of bundle, and so you can see there are 5 patches, and we can also see here like 5 patches are there, but we only have to apply the 2 patches which is applicable to both Oracle Home as well as Grid Home, and remaining 3 patches are only for the database. So that means we have to look only 5361 ending with and 556. So 556. So these 2 patches we need to take care, which already we mentioned in our action plan. Okay. So this is the main patch directory, and within this we have 2 sub directories. Okay. So in order to apply these patches, we need to first, make sure all the patch and no patch utility are already in place. Otherwise, what happens at the last moment, you might get surprises. So that is a problem we have. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just remove this one, and we'll now start the patching on the primary database. Okay. So basically, we'll start from this point. So patch is already copied, or patch utility already taken care. So whenever you are going for any patching activity, make sure you should have the pre-information like whatever the database running on the database server, what is the listener running on the server. If there is an OEM agent or if it is a RAG database environment, you might have to check the daemons related to grid infrastructure and MRP. So if it is a standby database, you also have to worry about the existing MRP process. So we already verified this part, like primary and standby related checks. So our primary and standby already in sync. So we can move to the next part, that is within the database level, we need to also verify like the database status. So currently what we have the database running as a read write mode, primary database naming test database. Apart from this, we also need to make sure opatch ls patches, this is the 2 command that we need to run. Basically here we have to run these 2 commands, so we will get the output of the existing patches. Okay, as I already informed, like we have 19.11 patch in place. So this is a database release update, and this is a OCW version. Okay, these patches are already in place. So these are all the pre-information that we are capturing right now. Apart from this, also we can capture the details about like the invalid objects, DB registry history view. So we will just execute these queries also in the database before we can go for the patching activity. So as a patching is a critical activity, we should always follow the best practices like this. Okay, so we have already captured if there is an invalid object count, so you should not deviate after applying the patcher. So we already taken care about this. Next part will come conflict check. So conflict check is basically why we need to take the conflict check. So let's suppose we already have some existing patches and we are going to apply the new patches. So during the new patch apply, so there is a possibility of this new patch have certain functionality which is against the existing patch functionality. Okay, so there is a possibility of conflict. So in order to apply any patch, we should always check the conflict before we can apply those patches. So this is a command that we have to run, like opatch. Prerequisite, check the conflict against Oracle Home with detail. Okay, and this is the base location of the patch. So we can see the message says that pre-check conflict has been passed. So this first patch, that is basically we can go ahead and apply the patch. If there is any conflict, then in that case you might have to raise the service request with the global Oracle database support, and then you can get the proper solution accordingly. Okay, so this point is taken care here. So next part will come like checking the sufficient space for the Oracle Home, because whenever we go for the what you call patching, because all the patches get added into your existing Oracle Home. So this is the step how we have to perform the home Oracle Home space. Okay, so basically you need to just copy the patch location. Okay, make a temporary file with a patch list db home and copy this file, patch detail into this file. After that, you need to basically run the command which is related to system space check. So what it does, basically it verifies the database home for if the patch which we are going to apply, for that there is a sufficient space on the mount point where the Oracle Home is installed. So it goes through the certain checks and it says like whether it is passed or not. So same thing we need to verify before we can go for the patch. Okay, so the next important part will come here. Like we need to first, so suppose if you are working on a real production environment, so at this point you'll request your application guys to stop this services, and then you'll stop the database. If there is an OEM agent running on the database server, you can stop those also. And apart from that, this next part will be stopping of the listener. So if there is any listener or like normal listeners or any application specific listener, so you have to stop those listener also. So database is down. Now we have to stop the listener. Listener is also stopped. So at this point, if your standby database is up and running, so it will say like the possible disconnect. Okay, and you might be getting those alerts, the database alert log of the standby, that you can ignore, or you can bring down your standby database as a best practice. Okay. So next point will come apply of the patch. So this is the main phase where you have to start the applying the patch. So if you want, you can directly go to this path and start running the opatch apply command. Okay, opatch apply will directly start the apply patch. Or there's a this way also you can run the opatch apply command. Here I have given the input as like this is the path of Oracle Home. Oracle Home, within that we have opatch utility, then apply minus Oracle Home. This is the home of the database, and minus local, basically so working on rack environment, then minus local will basically apply only on the local node where we are running this command. And the silent option, basically during the time of patching, it asks for yes or no to proceed. So if you have given the input as a silent, so it will automatically consider the input as yes. Okay, so by considering all these options, we have started the applying the first particular patch on the primary database. Okay. So the patch is getting applied here. So as soon as the patch get applied, we will. So if you want, you can during this patching activity, you can take the duplicate session of the 50, and then you can actually look for the logs also, like what is happening actually. So as this is the main patch, it is a bundle one, and it has multiple sub patches, so it will go through multiple like. So in the alert in the backend, you can see the logs. Patch are getting applied. Similarly, we have to apply the second patch also, and then do the verification of these two patches. If there are any other patches, then same way you have to keep on applying those patches. So here we have first patch got applied. So let's verify the patch again. So if you want, you can just verify these outputs also. You can execute this. So basically, if you see here, the message says subset patch. So existing patch basically has become inactive for application. That means the new patch, new version of the patch has been applied. Okay. So this is our new version of patch 1914, which we applied just now. Similarly, we have to apply the other patch also, like OCW related patch. So we'll just run the same command again. So within few minutes of time, this patching will be over. And then we have to do the post check also and start the database and do the post check. So a single instance, basically, we don't have to worry about the grid home and other things. It's very simple. It makes, patching is very simple in case of single instance database as compared to rack. So if you want to know how to do the patching on the rack environment, you can basically go and check our previous tutorials. So basically, it says after skipping the patch, basically it says like the patch which we are trying to apply, which is related to OCW, right? So that patch is basically already exist into the system, so it will not be get updated. So if we are doing the first time directly 1914 patch, in that case, that patch was we are able to apply that patch, but here you can directly see the message. This patches after skipping the patch, so skip this patch list from the apply. This patch is not needed because already the existing patch is doing the same job which will be done by 1914 version. Okay, so with this we can say the patching on the primary data is completed, and we already verified these two commands also. Now after this we have to start the database by logging into the database. So we'll start the database here. You can see the alert log of the database. And also we have to start the listener also. The way we have stopped the listener, similarly we have to start it also. And later we need to just cross verify if anything has been missed. So we will just go through this also output. Okay. So we need to start the listener. So since it is a default listener, so we don't have to give the name of listener. So now we can see the same output that we have previously. There is no MRP or no what you call demands related to your grid home. So these outputs are not giving anything here. The only like listener and team on you can see. So this is the post check that we are doing right now. So after doing this, we have to move to the next phase. That is, this one is a very important phase where we have to like proceed the same approach on the standby database as well. Okay, so same thing we have to repeat again. At the end, we have to run the command called data patch verbose by going into the opatch directory. Okay, so this step we have to follow only after applying the patch on the standby database. So this is a very important point that we have to make sure. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll go back again from this point. We have, because we already copied all this patch and we already verify these outputs also. It is same as whatever we have on the primary database. So only thing we have to verify the conflict check, and then we have to verify this system space check, and then we have to apply the patch on the standby database. So we have this session. So the database on the primary side has been started and it is up and running. Okay, this is the alert log of the database and this is a standby database. So here again RFS processor started resuming. So we need to just first connect to the database and see what is the current version. So currently it's a 19.11 version right now. So we need to first exit from here and verify the conflict check. So in order to verify the conflict check, the patch has to be present. Opatch utility has to be a proper one, like in 1.28, and the patch is already there in the location. Okay. Similarly, we have to look for the other patch also. So this is our second patch. So the conflict check here, first for the first patch it is passed, and similarly we have to do for the second. Second is also passed, and lastly we have to make a one temporary file where we can mention the patch detail, and later we can verify the space check. So we will be just pasting these two patch locations, and then we have to do the space check. So using the check system space, and this is the patch location, sorry, the file which we just now created, and through which we can identify the required space is there or not. Okay, so it will system will, OPatch utility will verify. And next one is a shutdown immediate. So basically, if you run the command shutdown immediate on standby database, that is a valid what do you call, that is a valid command to stop the MRP process also. But as a best practice, you should always cancel the recovery and then do the alter database, then recover managed standby database cancel. So this will stop the recovery. Okay. And similarly, what we did for the production, you can take all these pre-checks before you can proceed for the patching. So I think we already have this information, like only test standby database is additional thing here. So MRP process that we already stopped. After doing this, we have to bring down the database using the set immediate command. This is our standby database. So we'll check the alert log also. So once this will get stopped, after this, we have to stop the listener. And once everything will be down on the standby side, then we have to start applying the patches. So if suppose if you have multiple standby database for single primary, the same approach you have to follow for all the standby database while doing the patching. So we'll stop the listener here, and after stopping the listener, we have to start applying the patches. So this is the first patch that we are going to apply using this command. Same command, just we have to run on ambient time. So if you want, you can check the log also. So we'll take a duplicate session here, and you can. So as a best practice, you should always take a Oracle home backup whenever you are going to apply any patch. So this is the log file that we have, and we are checking the standby standby database patch apply. Okay. So this is the significance of silent option. So if you give the silent option in the patch apply or patch apply command, so it takes the input as a yes, auto answered by the silent option. So we'll wait for this patch to get applied on the standby database. After this, we can apply. We can try for the next patch also, which will automatically get skipped since it is not required as per the we have seen in the production side. I mean primary database side patching during the time of primary database patching. So at this point in time, where production data, I mean primary database will be up and running, only standby database will be not available. So the first patch got applied. Let's move to the next patch. That is the second one. As expected, this will not get applied because existing patch is already of the same functionality. After this, we have to look for the patch inventory, and then we can start the database also. So right now we are checking the second patch, and this is OCW patch, and once so we can see the warning message. So that means we don't have to apply that patch, so we can skip that. And next one is to verify the patch details. Like we applied 19.14 patch just now, so this patch is here. After doing this, we can move to the next part, that is to start the database and then start the MRP. So in this case, if the standby database is there, you have to start the MRP also. So we'll run the startup command, and then we'll do the MRP startup. Okay. So if you have previously stopped the listener, you can start the listener also. But in our case, we haven't stopped the listener. So we can directly move for the alter database, recover managed standby database using current log file and it from session. So it will. So it says no listener. That means we have to start the listener. I think we already stopped that listener. Let me check it out if it is not running. Yeah, listener is stopped. So we need to start the listener using the listener start command. Okay, so here we can see the listener got started. If you want, just cross verify again. So now recovery is also started, and this is our primary database log. So let's try to do some alter system switch log, switch log file. How we can close this patch related window so we don't get confused here. This also we can close. So the patching on the primary and standby database is completed. The only thing we have to check for the synchronization between the primary and standby database. So this is our standby database, and this one is our primary database. Okay, and currently we can see the alert logs indicates that archive is there, but it is not transferred there on the standby setup. So so let me cross verify again. So sequence it says like 27. We'll try to do one more log switching. So these archives are not getting transferred onto the standby database. So we need to first try defer and enable option. So as we can see, the desk2 is currently configured for the standby database. So what I have to do, I need to stop and defer the desk state. So using alter system set, and then we need to again do the enable command. So this is what we are trying to check if, yeah. So as soon as we run the enable command, we can see the RFS process get started here. Okay. And even though MRP already we started, so recovery is also happening. And on the primary database also, we can see the proper things. So basically the patching is completed. So now we will jump to the last step, that is to run the data patch verbose command. So why we are running this data patch verbose command? So if you see this particular command output, on the primary database. So you'll come to know like we already during our last patching we have applied the patch. Okay, and this patch was 19.3 to 19.11. Let me just make the output little shorter so that you can see properly. Okay, so here we can see it is 19.11 to 1911. So as of now, we don't see any entry like this in the database statistics. Okay, so in order to update the statistics, there is a command that we need to run. So at binary level, we already apply the patch, but at SQL level, so basically it's called SQL patching. Okay, so internally it updates all these statistics like this is a new patch and new functionality. So we have to basically it runs only on the primary database. So we need to run on the primary database by going into the path or patch and then run the data patch verbose. Depending upon the database size and the internal object, it will take certain time to get updated. So this is the last step in the patching. So once you apply the patch, make sure you run the data patch verbose command also. And if all the outputs are properly visible, then you can say that this patching is successfully completed. So whatever the change happening on the primary, automatically it is getting reflected on the standby database also. So currently it is getting, those changes are getting applied into the SQL level. So now we can see this data patch verbose command is completed. So let's verify the other part, like the one which we were looking previously, like DBA registry stable. So here we will be able to verify like from 19.11 to 1914. So this is the last verification you need to do in patching. So release update has been successfully applied, and this is today's date. Okay, so this is how we have to perform the patching, and same output you can verify on the standby setup also. You just reduce the size of font so that it will become proper. Okay. Same thing is also reflecting on standby database, and MRP is also working. So this way you have to apply the patch if you have a single instance database along with its standby database. I hope this is helpful. Thank you. So guys, thanks for watching our tutorial. I hope you have understood the complete detail about this tutorial. If you have any queries with respect to our today's session, so please send me a message, or you can send me an email about the same. I'll definitely try to resolve your queries, and you can send me the detail your queries on the comment box also. If you are new on our YouTube channel, please do subscribe, and thanks for watching for today's session. Have a great day.